Your politicians have become like wolves, prowling and killing and taking whatever they want. And your preachers are covering up for the politicians by pretending to have received visions and revelations. They say, this is what God says, and I, God, have not said a thing. And because your politicians are like wolves, and your preachers are covering up for your politicians, extortion is rife, robbery is epidemic, the poor and the needy are being abused, and the immigrants and the strangers are being kicked around at will with no access to justice. I looked around for somebody to stand in the gap against all of this, and I could not find anyone. Our brothers and sisters, in this moment, I believe, Roland, that we've got to be clear that it's movement time again. Tonight, we're going to hear, the nation will hear from Donald Trump at the State of the Union. But any political leader must be judged not by the teleprompter words that they say, but by the policies they embrace and advocate. A tree is known, a president is known, a Congress is known by the fruit it bears. I said, Roland and I often texting, and I was texting a few weeks ago when everybody got all upset about the profane word that the president used in a meeting. And I said to folk, well, that's profanity, but it's not cursing. The Bible, whenever it speaks of cursing, is talking about policies. Policies that hurt the least of these is a form of cursing. That's what cursing is. And then somebody got really upset about the porn star. And I said, well, that's something serious, and that's between him, his God, his wife, and his family, and those kinds of things have built-in consequences. But in the Bible, there's a greater adultery because it has a greater impact on more people. And in Hosea and Amos and throughout the scripture, it's called a whoring after other gods. It is when one does everything you can to be against justice and against the poor and against the least of these. And again, you use power to inflict pain on the most vulnerable. I would surmise that we have a lot of cursing going on in policy. I would surmise that not just Trump, but this extremist Congress that I believe really likes his tweets and his antics because they never separate from his agenda. So they let him be a distraction, and they want us to follow the distractions, while underneath the distractions, they are deconstructing the American project. And the question for us now is not, can the Democratic Party survive or the Republican Party? I'm an independent, I've been one for a long time. The question is America possible? Is America possible? We would do well in this moment, because anytime you're in a moment like this, your analysis must be deep. It can't be shallow. It can't be from the hip. It can't be naive. And we would do well to remember that the leadership of every white supremacy campaign in the U.S. history has called for peace and law and order. Every campaign rooted in racism and classism has claimed that what they were doing was good for the economic health of the nation, and that there would be some trickle-down effect from the stock market or the wealth rising at the top, the same con has been used by every oppressive cover-up. That's one lesson the nation needs to stop saying we've never seen this before. If you know history and world history, we've seen it and we are seeing it. My brothers and sisters, I believe, are in the midst of a third reconstruction in America. We are in the midst of the fundamental changing of demographics around the world. I mean, really, because there's a scripture in the Bible that says every movement needs a Baruch, and that's the person who writes and who makes sure that the message actually gets out. So tonight, as we come here and we have the nation online and we thank the NAACP and those millennials, weren't they powerful? And the former panel, we really ask God's blessings and grace on us to stand strong in this moment. And Pastor, I just want to read a little something, and I want to read it in the millennial version of the Bible. And I want to use it as a launching pad for tonight. It reads like this. Don't know if you've ever heard it before, but it says, I'm angry. Ezekiel chapter 2 says, I'm angry. God says, I'm angry because your priests are violating my law and desecrating my holy things. Your politicians have become like wolves, prowling and killing and taking whatever they want. And your preachers are covering up for the politicians by pretending to have received visions and revelations. They say, this is what God says, and I, God, have not said a thing. And because your politicians are like wolves and your preachers are covering up for your politicians, extortion is rife, robbery is epidemic, the poor and the needy are being abused, and the immigrants and the strangers are being kicked around at will with no access to justice. I looked around for somebody